Once upon a time, I hated the idea of sales. And I struggled in my business as a result of that. And this, obviously, the story of that is in the book. And it came to the point in my entrepreneur journey that I had to make that decision of, do I continue to struggle and go forward, or do I go get that 4-letter word called a job? And I decided I needed to feed my family. I'm going to go and look for the job. My sister introduced me to her boss. And I was, desperate for a job. It was, recession was still going on. All of these things were happening. My husband was, miserable. I was miserable. And so as my sister's boss is sitting across the table from me, we go through the interview and he says, hey, I'm having a really hard time making this decision. If you were me, who would you choose? And I knew who the other person was that I was up against. I was like, my first reaction was, well, you need to hire me because I'm going to do this job because I'm desperate for this job. I need this job. I wasn't going to say that, but that's what I was thinking. And then I looked at him and I realized, this is my sister's boss and she has a relationship with him. And if this doesn't go well, it's not going to go well for her. And it's not going to go well for me. And that's going to damage our relationship. So I asked him the first question that came to my mind. What's the most important part of this job? What's the most aspect of this role that you need to be successful? And when he told me, and it wasn't the thing that I knew that I could do, I was like, it was hard for me to say, but I said, you need to hire so-and-so because they're better suited. I know that this is their skill set, whereas this is not mine. I can go find a better opportunity. And he looked at me, he's like, thank you so much for making this decision easier for me. I'm going to go see who else needs your services because you're someone who I think I can recommend to them. And I was like, well, that's never happened before. And when I went home and told my husband about it, he's like, well, maybe, what was different about this conversation, he said. And I was like, I don't know. I was focused more about what he needed and wanted than what it was that I wanted. He's like, well, maybe you just need to stop making it all about yourself and stop trying to sell people on that. And then you'll get more customers and clients. And it started this thought in my head. And I hired a sales coach and my sales coach kept saying, it's not about you. It's not about what you think or what you want or your product or your service. And then I was like, oh. And then I started digging even more into it to understand this dynamic of putting others first and how that builds trust and the neuroscience and the psychology behind that. And that's when I started to also feel a little bit of a difference in what was happening with me in my everyday things. Like I wasn't getting upset when deals didn't go through because it wasn't about me. It wasn't about the rejection. I didn't really necessarily worry what someone thought about me if I asked them a tough question because it's not about me. The whole dynamic of making it about someone else and not about what you want changed the entire dynamic of sales for me. It was his book, To Sell Is Human, that really inspired me to start examining our beliefs and mindsets around sales and how that impacts us. And I wanted to take it that next step further of, okay, if 7 out of 10 of us see sales as pushy, slimy, and sleazy, as he writes in his book, which 10 years ago it was written, still true today, because you go to Google and you type in salesperson, all of the images that come up are of the used car salesperson, man, with a cheesy suit at the used car lot. And so this is the perception that people have of sales. Clients come to me every day saying, I need to get more customers. I need to get more clients. I need to make more money, but I don't want to be salesy. And it's this perception of sales as being pushy, slimy, sleazy, manipulative, something we do to other people to get what we want, that has caused others to shy away from sales, to not want to go into the profession, or when they have to engage with a salesperson, this is what they think of, or as a business owner. You go into a business for yourself, not thinking you're a salesperson, but if you're going to make it work, you have to sell something with someone else. And so this whole perception, the thing that's interesting about it is it's our beliefs and attitudes towards a behavior that will dictate if or how we do that particular behavior. And so the psychology also tells us that when we have to learn something new, one of the ways that we do that is by modeling the behaviors of others that we see as successful. And when I started reading into all of this, I started thinking, oh my God, is this why sales is the most despised profession that there is? Because as soon as we have to enter into it, we look at the pushy, slimy sleaziness because we think that's what success looks like. And even if I don't want to do it, I guess that's what I have to do. And we're just perpetuating and creating more of the same kinds of things because of our own sales perceptions, our own origin story around sales. We're perpetuating that because we don't know anything different. And I am a student of sales. You see all of the books behind me, but we've gone through all of the alphabet soup of processes and methodologies to try to figure out how to successfully sell. And the thing that gets left out of this entire equation is our buyer. And we talk about what to do, but we don't talk about how we think about what we do. So these were the dynamics I found that were missing when I started to try and figure out sales for myself. And that origin story, that belief system, it's this hidden thing underneath everything that we do that no one is talking about or addressing how to change. Well, the thing that happens is the behaviors, the results that we're seeing with our buyers are because of us. It's not because of them. It's not because they don't want to pay the price or because they don't see the value or because they don't know what it is that they actually need. They don't know this about the competition. It's actually our own behaviors and those mindsets towards those behaviors that are actually in some cases causing our buyers to do things. So when I'm working with clients, some of the first things that they start to see happen, yes, they start to think differently. They start to feel differently about the conversations. They start to ask better questions. They start to listen more actively. They aren't afraid discussing money. But the thing that gets them is that their buyers behave or react differently to them. Like, my favorite part of an engagement is when I start working with them on what does it sound like in your email messages that go back and forth, not just and your conversations, and how they'll change one part of what they're saying or how they're saying it, and all of a sudden they've got a completely different response from their buyer, where they're engaging in this conversation and sharing information, and they don't even have to ask for them to bring their boss, and they're saying, yeah, we should totally bring so and so in on this because they've got some input, and it's this collaborative conversation that happens. And they come away from those calls or those emails and they're like, oh my God, this worked. I can't even believe that this worked the way that we thought it was going to work because of the small changes that I made in it. Long term, they sell more, for more in a shorter period of time. They have clients that stay with them longer. One of the things that has happened recently with clients that I didn't expect is that their teams love working with the kinds of clients that they bring in. There's this internal culture and collaboration that happens because everyone is aligned around the buyer. And I think one of the biggest reasons is because you're not afraid to tell them no. Not just a matter of, is the client trying to decide if you're a fit? You have to decide if they're a fit for you as well. In the 15 years of business that I've been doing this, I've learned through the hard way of what type of client psychologically, personality-wise, how they're motivated, what type of client works best with me, because I'm going to have to talk with this person or this group of people every day for the next 12 to 16 or however many weeks. And so it's that willingness to say no. I don't think that this is the best fit for you. And even though you might think so, that's not going to be the best thing for in your interest. I've actually sent people money back because I figured out that they weren't a fit. So the idea of collaborative selling, it actually comes from a couple of different sources. So I started looking at, one, what are the things that we think that impact our ability to be able to sell with buyers? But then what's going on in the buyer's head, right? We all want to know, what are buyers thinking? What do they want from us? What do they value from us? And I started looking into different surveys. So LinkedIn did 2 actual surveys that were also titled Buyer First, where they listed, we've surveyed, I think it was a couple of thousand of B2B buyers over 2 years, and asking, what are the traits that you value in a salesperson? What are the types of things that you value? And LinkedIn's survey said, we value active listening, and people ask us questions that get us to think differently and give us new ideas and perspectives on our problems and solutions. I started digging into research from Gartner, from Forrester, all of the other major sort of research surveys, and they were all saying the same thing. Deb Calvert wrote her book with her co-authors, Stop Selling, Start Leading. And in that, they also surveyed B2B buyers who also found collaborative salespeople help them think differently about problems were the ones that they wanted to interact with. Then I started digging into some research from Harvard. And one of the studies that I came across, or research studies I came across, was called the IKEA effect. When we put some skin in the game, when we take part in creating something that's for ourselves, we have more value in that, right? It's like the difference between buying store-bought cookies and cookies that you made yourself or that someone like you made for you. We place more value on the homemade stuff. Artesian cheese, that explains all of it to me right there. So the thing of it is that we think that we can't collaborate with our buyers because we have this set product or we have this set program, or we have this set thing that we're going to sell to them. But what these studies are really saying is that it's in the conversations that we have with our buyers, not just in the solutions that they see as collaborative. So asking open-ended, sequential questions to uncover need and urgency. What do they think about it? How has it been happening? How long has it been happening? Why has it been happening? Is this even a problem we're solving? These are all collaborative types of questions that we can ask so that as we move through the buying and selling phases with our buyers, when it comes to the point where we need to give a demonstration or a presentation or present a solution, we're customizing that in alignment with the answers we've gotten in our collaborative conversation, so that we're presenting to them the features, the benefits, the impact, and the value that matters to them. Not, we could give this demo, this slide deck presentation to any one of our customers and it wouldn't change all that much, but changing how we speak about the terms of it, what we call it, all of the little nuances that get them to say, they listened to me, they included it in the solution, they understand and get us, and we're going to place more value on that. Those are examples of what I see collaborative selling as. It's not that you're waiting for your buyer to guide you through the process. It's that you're continuously collaborating with them as you go. You look up the definition of sales and selling in the Webster's Dictionary, it's an exchange of value, a back and forth. You need two people in an exchange.